Okay, I am trying the live version here on my laptop and seeing if that works. This is my fourth episode for the Stam I Am channel, and we're going to talk about defending Christian nationalism. Typically, we've been hearing a lot of stuff going on here in Frisco. We've had a good friend of ours, someone who I worked very closely with on the last election cycle, man who runs a local, I think it's a non-denominational church here. We have a lot of those here in North Texas. For those in San Pedro, remember, I am a practicing Catholic. I'm very strong in my faith there. In fact, I'm very proud, not only a Knight of Columbus from the Angels Gate Council. Many of you, my brother Knights, were humble enough to elect me as the Grand Knight. I really appreciated that. And as well as I became a fourth degree Knight, inspired by many of you. So much good service to our community and whatnot. I could name 20 of you right off the top of my head because you all inspired me to do good. When I ran for office, many of my brother Knights were there making the phone calls, doing all the stuff. I will always be in debt to so many of you. So thank you for that. And it's for you and for the others that I've continued to make sure that I am representing my strong Catholic faith, but also part of being a Catholic is being a Christian, and understanding that when Christians are attacked for being Christians, whether it's being Christians, but also being Americans, first of all, being a Christian nationalist has meant that you don't have to decide. This is the big group that President Trump had as big supporters for his campaign and overwhelmingly turned out for him both in 2016 and 2020. And I believe it's the primary group that the Democrats know they have to tear down as soon as possible. It's not enough that their alleged practicing Catholic, Joe Biden, and in my mind, I'm sorry, you cannot be a practicing Catholic and be pro-abortion. It's just the way it is. I'm sorry. If the Catholic faith has a big thing against that, but it is what it is. I believe that when people talk about Christian nationalism, I believe the exact opposite end of that is secular socialism or secular globalism. This is that whole thing of where instead of our rights being endowed to us, coming from God, that they're inherent rights, that we should only have rights that our government says we have, but also that we shouldn't have any more rights than every other country out there, that it's not fair, that we need to all be equal, this whole unity thing, okay? And then you're hearing the term unity, and that's what they're talking about. Unity means conformity. It means you got to conform to all of that, okay? It isn't enough for us to say, isn't it wonderful that we have the freedom of expression, the freedom to bear arms, and all the other Bill of Rights and the other parts of the Constitution, and that we should be encouraging other countries, other parts of the world to endow those rights amongst their people as well. It isn't good enough for that. And that's the problem that the Democrats have. And that's why you're seeing both nationally, but even especially here in Frisco. The Frisco Democrat Club has decided to wage war on the evangelical Christians of North Texas, especially in Frisco. And what they've done is they've managed to shame some of our elected officials who claim to be conservative, but they this is where you have to decide. Being conservative means that it's more important to stand for your principles and values, to stand for those things, than to be elected. And if it means that you either temporarily or even permanently become less popular amongst key people, standing up for what is right, doing what is right, then you do that. And that should be totally fine. So with that, I've taken down a few notes here. I want to make sure I get down. And in particular, I think I've talked about how the GOP political establishment, as we've been getting closer here and moving on, they're the ones who you see fading away from President Trump. Yeah, we got to move on. Yeah, we got to get along to get along. But they're also the ones who are very spineless when it comes to saying, wait a minute here. For example, this impeachment is a total sham. Most of the 74 million that voted for President Trump know that, okay? And what it tells me is I'm not going to say with confidence that I believe that even Mitch McConnell voted for President Trump. I think we all can agree that Mitt Romney didn't vote for President Trump, and the Bushes didn't vote for Trump. These are people who we all supported in the past. I worked all their campaigns. I was also on McCain's campaign. Everybody remembers all that. And now you look back and you say, these are all the people now who, when it was time to get behind and really truly understand what it meant to be a strong Republican and maybe learn a lesson or two, they instead said, oh, this man is making us look weak, making us look foolish. So we're going to do everything possible to get him out. And that's what they did. And the problem with that is the primary group of people who have said, unacceptable, we're standing by President Trump. They're probably going to be there if or when he decides that he's going to try not only to be, moving forward in politics. Don't be surprised if you hear talks of Trump 47. I'm going to call it out there now. I suspect that he is going to try to run for president again. And there is a very good chance he will have my support, and he will have the support of most of the evangelical Christians who finally saw a man who watched for years as Christians were verbally attacked for practicing our faith, for being pro-life, okay, for being pro-America. The idea that Americans should be exceptional, the fact that we should have pride in made in America, the fact that it should not be acceptable to ship our jobs and things overseas. This man brought in all that, and that's what they hate. And that's why you're seeing those attacks now, because in order for President Trump to begin his comeback, to do his thing, the Democrats know that the evangelical Christians, the Christian nationalists now, the new buzz phrase, okay, that's what they need to be there ready for them. If they can destroy the Christian nationalists, okay, if they can equate Christian nationalists with domestic terrorism, then they will stand at least some chance of retaining the House and retaining the Senate in 2022. If the Christian nationalists are strong, then they stand a very high likely chance of losing the House. There is only a 9-seat majority in the House right now. And for those who know how to do math, that means 5 seats flip from Democrat to Republican. The Republicans take back the House. Same with the Senate. It's actually more 50-50. You just have to take one more seat and defend the ones you have. Now, what's happening is, because these people who have been in D.C. for so long want to be able to get things done allegedly and play nicely, and all hang out at the country clubs together in the Beltway and all that. They're letting a lot of things slide that we know they shouldn't be. And we need to keep an eye on that. And you know who's going to keep an eye on that even more? All the evangelical Christians, all the Christian nationalists. And with that, you see it right here in Frisco, okay, with the local elections going on, all right? The Democrats, the Texas Democratic Party and the rest know that they need to find those Christian nationalists who were instrumental in the 2020 local election success. We did very well here in North Texas. There were a couple places where Democrats made some inroads, like school boards and the rest, and they know we're working on those next. But the city councils did very well. They didn't flip a single seat in the state house or the state senate. Okay, this whole talk about being a purple state and everything else, not true, but it is becoming less red. And what's happening is in order to tear that down further, the way they're going after it is they're looking for the Christian nationalists they can go after. And they found one. They found our friend Brandon Burden from Kingdom Life Church, because Brandon Burden, hey, he and I have had some disagreements on stuff. For a time, I was on the board of the Fiscal Conservatives, a PAC and a group that he is our chairman and president of, and I am still a proud member at the patriot level, which is like the second highest level. Okay, and they did a lot of great stuff. And I will tell you, the 2 city council races, both those 2 city council members are elected because of the Frisco Conservatives. Yes, there were others that were part of it as well, but Frisco Conservatives was definitely one of the wheels on that car, on each of their carts. And if they hadn't been there, there's a very good chance that neither of those council members would have been elected. And I will say that. In fact, one of the two, the one that was in the open seat, needs to understand that there was actually almost a 50-50 chance the Frisco Conservatives weren't even going to endorse him. All right. And one of the ones that made the swing vote and decided to make sure he was endorsed, and the reason why he's a council member, was Brandon Burden. All right. So Brandon has his church, Kingdom Life Church, one of the many powerful churches here. That they're not quite, no one's a Joel Osteen church here or anything like that stuff. So for those back home in California, well, these are kind of the middle tier churches, whatever, very passionate people, love their community, love their neighbors, want to do good, want to get that positive message every Sunday to get them fired up for the week. And every church out here that I know of, including Brandon's church, does that very well. You walk out of there and you are fired up, ready to go. Bring on Monday, baby. Okay. And Brandon is also very politically active. Brandon also is one of those that also understands that Christian morals and values need to be taken outside of the church. When we talk about evangelizing, the Catholic Church talk about that. Go forth, right? And preach the word of God. Well, where do you go forth and do that? Where do you go forth and do that? The best place to go forth and do that is in your local city government, in the local politics. Okay, it's going in and making sure that the people are being represented in a moral and ethical manner, in the manner that Jesus has taught us. Or if you're, whatever your faith is, wonderful. Those positive morals, those positive values and things that make us stronger, those need to get out there. And Brandon's been doing that. Now, because the Democrats here know they have to go after a group like him, they've been infiltrating his church. They've been infiltrating the organizations there, the meetings. And of course, what ended up happening was there was an article in the Dallas News, one of the fish wraps out here. And if it weren't for the fact that someone else on Facebook or whatever had forwarded it, whatever, I never would have read it. Okay. But I guess there are people who still read it. And what really made people read it, unfortunately, the irony is that two of our city council members decided they had to chime in. All right. And I will tell them this, because one of them is I consider a friend. All right. The other one has refused to talk to me or whatever, and that's fine. That's that person's prerogative. Okay. But I will tell them both this. Okay. There are times to talk to the media. There are times not to talk to the media about stuff. And there's specific times when you literally refuse comment. All right. Because if you are a conservative Republican, which all you people love to say they are out here, that's the big buzz thing out here. Okay. Just like out in San Pedro, everybody wanted to be endorsed by the union, and I'm more Democrat than you and everything else. I will tell you, you move here, you better, if you're not a conservative Republican, you better at least pretend you are, because that is what's going on out here. And so both of them say, as a conservative Republican, and I'm not going to, but the bottom line is they threw him under the bus. And what they did was, thinking that they were just throwing Frisco conservatives or even just Brandon himself under there, okay, what they did was they made a statement about all of the Christian nationalists, evangelical Christians who practice their faith out here. Because I will tell you, Brandon is not the only person who's talking about, hey, you know what, we may be in for some tough times ahead. If you can store up some food, you can store up some water. You may want to, if you want to purchase a gun and learn how to use it well and everything else, you need to be able to defend your family. That's happening. As far as when you hear about all the messages that the Democrats are talking about, I mean, has anybody listened to AOC lately? I mean, she's talking about re-education, purging, conservatives, and the thing is she's not the first one. And the other numbnuts from the squad aren't part of the next ones. Okay, I will tell you who else was. You can go all the way back to the days of Jeremiah Wright. Remember, not God bless America, God damn America. All right. Where were they when we were calling all that out? Nothing. Oh no. Oh, Barack Obama, he wasn't actually at that sermon. Whatever. Okay, isn't that still wrong? Can you call that out? Do I have to be, if one of my Catholic pastors had something that was totally unacceptable or whatever, do I have to be present? I mean, hey, I'll be the first to say it. Yeah, there were some Catholic priests that behaved criminally, and I'm glad that they were arrested or whatever. Did I have to be present for that behavior to call that out? No. It was unacceptable, and I'm glad that those priests were brought to justice. So many others need to as well, as far as goes on. But all those other comments, just because you weren't there for the comment, it's recorded, it's there. How about the recorded comment from Maxine Waters, going out and accosting people in the grocery store, accosting people in the department store, okay, or in a restaurant? Why do you think BLM and all of them did what they did all in 2020, and people who were trying to eat lunch outside were accosted and everything else? Okay, Maxine Waters did that. You know who else was part of that? You know who else called for that? California's former senator, now vice president, Kamala Harris. And allegedly 80 million people voted for her. 80 million people voted for her knowing that she was like that. What do we say about that? Democrats decided basically after New Year's of 2021 that they suddenly were going to be upset about what happened at the Capitol and everything else. 2020, what is that? I don't even know what you're talking about. Well, we know exactly what went on, okay? And that's why we're preparing ourselves. That's why we're doing our thing, all right? And so if Pastor Brandon wants to make sure that his flock is protected, prepared, hey, it's always good to be protected and prepared, okay? It's like having a fire extinguisher. You hope you never use it, okay? But you don't not buy it. You have one on hand, ready to go, especially if you cook like I do, all right? So with that, I just want to pass on a couple of messages here because I know I'm approaching my 20-minute mark here. But the biggest thing is this. If the Texas Democratic Party and their surrogate down here, the Frisco Democrat Club, wants to wage war on evangelical Christians, on Christian nationalists, and people who are proud to both be Christian and be Americans, good luck with that. I'm going to be on the side of those that are proud of their faith, that are proud of their country, because both of those things are why I have all the blessings that I have my wonderful family, that I have my wonderful neighborhood, my wonderful friends, both back in San Pedro and here in my new home of Frisco. Those things all happen because I have a loving God who has forgiven me for my sins and continued to be behind me and guide me, and for a country that allows me to do all that allowed me to serve a higher purpose, both while I was in as a veteran and not. And I'm going to defend that. And I'm going to defend all of those that are part of that. And that includes Pastor Brandon Burden. So Brandon, I hope you get this message at some point. Maybe you just fast forward to the 19 minutes and 30-second mark, but we're behind you. I'm behind you, my friend. And let's make sure that the Democratic Party here does not take away our freedoms, knowing that we're going to be doing great in 2021, 2022. God bless you all. I hope you're having a great weekend, and we'll talk later. Take care.